Hey guys, Wolvie here and welcome back to the channel. As always, the usual disclaimer, any opinion here is mine and mine alone. Now this is a video log, but it is from my latest trip to Micro Center for those of you who live in the United States like I do. Micro Center is a U.S. mini chain of stores that specialize in computer components, as well as varying aspects of pre-builds, whatever have you. I happen to live in an area where I can easily access a Micro Center. However, not everybody has this same privilege. So I just want to make sure I point this out right out of the gate. Now, the nature of my visit to Micro Center earlier today, which happens to land on Super Bowl Sunday, is I was actually on the lookout for a few things, like both to buy and to window shop to get a visual what I want, and to be honest with everybody. And there are some surprising things I found in this last trip to Micro Center. I try to make these visits once a month, so that way I don't go overboard on my finances, especially when I have traveling coming up later on this year, potentially twice this year as opposed to last year. And one of those trips is my return trip to Seattle, so, excuse me. So that's that on that. So that's the whole thing with travel. I don't want to make too many visits to Micro Center, so that sort of thing. So, like I said, I try to make these trips to Micro Center about once a month, maybe more if I have like extra money to go after a few things here and there. So that makes any sense. And that way I get a visualization of what to look for, what's available. Should I get a Micro Center? Should I get it online? You guys get the drift. So I do have some photos from my latest trip, and some of the stuff is kind of surprising. I'm not going to go into graphics cards because it's like, it looked a little empty on the NVIDIA side of Micro Center, but it's just one of those things I really couldn't get a read on the AMD and Intel GPU, so it's like, I'm going to exclude that from this particular video, so that way you guys get to know where I'm going out with this video. So I'm excluding anything on GPUs because I really didn't get a good read on 2 of the 3 brands. I did see a decent read on the NVIDIA side of things, and it's like there's not that many available right now. To give you guys a bit of a hint, at the Chicago Micro Center, like I said, that's the one I live the closest to. But like I said before, not everybody is as fortunate to live near Micro Center in the United States. So I'm going to keep it as fair as possible. Now, before I go any further, I do want to warn you, my throat is kind of like it's sounding a little hoarse. I want to say congestion kicked my ass yesterday. So that's what I am recovering from at the moment. It's a pretty nasty bout of congestion, so it's like, or a cold, so it's like, I have to keep my my throat, as hydrated as possible, so I know what's going on with that for sure. Now, one of the things I made, a couple of quick look-ats here throughout my visit today was the memory, the RAM, and the reason why I had to make a quick, a few stops here to take a look was, and this is for the Buddies build, because it's like, do I go with this kit? Do I go with that kit? Do I go with some other kit? So this, for me, it's just like, I just need to get a really good eye of what I want for the Buddies build, which I still need to get a bunch of parts for, and what memory is one of them. And the prices for even DDR4 RAM are all over the place. And yes, I'm going to zoom in on this one particular kit here. Again, like I said, this is DDR4. As you can see here on my on this particular image here, and that is a sale price of $228 United States dollars before tax. Again, this is DDR4. DDR4 RAM, not DDR4, not DDR5. Just a bit of a heads up right there. So some DDR4 kits are expensive still. It comes down to the timings, the hertz number, the megahertz numbers, how much memory, so on and so forth. There's a lot of factors that are involved, and for a brand like this to be still as expensive, I'm not at all surprised for DDR4 RAM like this. But like I said, I did have to make, I want to make sure I get like as good of an eye of like what I want for the build as possible, so that way once I finally get everything's built the way I want it, she's gonna be so happy with it. Now, these two items you see here are what I wound up buying at Micro Center, and like I said, this is what I was coming here for in the first place. Something involving thermal pads for Odin's original motherboard, which is the Asus ROG Strix X570E gaming Wi-Fi board. And it's the OG version, not the gaming Wi-Fi 2. The latter I have as Odin's new motherboard, so just a bit of a FYI on that. But yeah, the thermal pad here, you see in this photo, I believe it is a 2-pack, so that way I can just put it on like the side where the NVMe is supposed to be and insert the storage there as once I get my hands on that. Now the spatulas, it was either going to be that or a thermal paste kit where it comes with either the spatula with it in sense of like the way you see here, or you make the attachment to like the tube of the thermal paste and you just do it like that. You don't have to do like do the thermal paste job and then do the spatula later. So I was a little bit torn, and I am a little tight on money, so I'm like, okay, what direction do I want to go? And by luck, I found the spatula, so I went that direction because I know I have more than enough thermal paste here in the apartment, and that's why I went with what I went. Now, I was looking at my photos here, the stuff that I took. Now, this, when it comes to like the cases, like the Micro Center like is able to sell, I was able to spot quite a few Lee O11 dynamic cases. Now, here you see a little bit like Corsair, but there is a lot of Lee cases here in the Micro Center in Chicago, and the prices for the Lee cases they vary, but most of them are in triple-digit numbers. For example, here I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you guys get to see like at least two or three of the different Lee case brands. You have here the Lee Land Cool. I know that's the number 3 right over there. You have a member of the Dynamic family. Let me zoom in. Okay, so this right here, you have the Lee Land Cool 3. Right next door to it is the O11 Dynamic Mini. I don't care like the color of it, but it's there. You also have here another Lee Land Cool 3. That's the Corsair 220T RGB. You also have here that's the Corsair Carbide 175R. You also have here the Obsidian 500D right over there. Let me see if I can. Okay, so that's a bunch. That's like the Corsair family. That's a lot. That is a decent amount of Lee, and then I want to zoom in again. You have a decent amount of Lee. I'm going to zoom into where you guys can see it real quickly. So that section right over here, that's nothing but Lee on top. And then you also here on the bottom, you may or may not be able to make it out very well, but that is also a bunch of Lee. So there are people like YouTubers and people on various social media saying, Oh, everybody has Lean Lee. If that's the case, then why does Micro Center here in Chicago have this many Lean Lee cases for sale? And this is another bit of a section of Lean Lee cases right over here. You have here the that's more of the Land Colt 3. That's more of the Land Colt 3 right there. And then this right here is the Land Colt 215. That's another one. And there, right next door to, I know it's MSI. This is the Prospect 700R. That's that chassis. But you notice here so far we have a decent amount of Lean Lee cases. So I'm going to do this. And this is yet another section of Lean Lee cases. Now, and then like I said, this very much debunks the whole thing, saying everybody's got Lean Lee cases on, but here's the proof. If Lean Lee cases are things that everybody supposedly has as their PC case, then why does a Micro Center location have quite a few of them for sale? And there are other cases here, cases like sets of brands like NZXT, Cooler Master, Montec, Thermaltake. I know there are a decent amount of Thermaltake, but it really depends on which one. There are some, again, but like I said, there are some Cooler Master alongside Montec and NZXT. I'm going to give you guys a bit of a spoiler for NZXT. There's not that many. And the reason why there's not that many NZXT cases is because here in Chicago, NZXT is likely the most popular case here. And this is some of the evidence, as you can see. Because some of the cases that's from NZXT that's available here to buy in Chicago are mainly the H5 family. Meaning H5 Flow, H510 Elite, H510 OG, H510i. Those are practically the only NZXT cases that's available here in Chicago. There might be some other NZXT cases here, but the ones you could find in the Micro Center here in Chicago fast are members of the H5 family, meaning H5 Flow, H510 Elite, H510i, and that's about it, because there's no H7, H9 Elite, that's completely sold out, not just on the NZXT website, but here in Chicago. And I managed to grab from the NZXT website an H9 Flow case before that sold out the second time. So NZXT must be doing something right here in Chicago in the sense of their cases. Why are they selling out faster and more so than Lean Lee? Which, again, debunks the whole thing about Lean Lee being the most popular case, because there is a lot of these Lean Lee cases here in the Micro Center in Chicago. One can probably tell it's not selling that well here. I just checked my time because, like I said, the app I'm using to record videos like this, I have about a 35-minute limit, so this is going to be a bit of a longer video. I'm going to be resting on my vocal cords a little bit. I am trying to go to the gym a little later on tonight, and yes, I know it's Super Bowl, but you're talking to somebody who's not an NFL fan. And don't ask. But to get to my point here, NZXT sells well in Chicago. A bit more so than Lean Lee. Now, the jury is out for Montec, Thermaltake, Corsair, and Cooler Master. But I remember from my last trip to Micro Center, was before this trip, was that there are at least a decent amount of Lee PC cases. And if anybody wants to get their hands on a member of the Lee Dynamic Family case, some of you guys might want to swallow your pride, come to the Micro Center in Chicago, and that way you can get your hands on one. And there are the variety of the Dynamic Family cases here at the Micro Center here in Chicago. It's kind of wide, so you have plenty to pick from. And that's all I really have to say on that. So, just to reiterate, I'm going to zoom in somewhat. This is right here, where I'm trying to move over this zoomed in photo here. That is nothing but Lee cases. That something tells me they're not selling as well here in Chicago as in other regions. And I'm going to zoom in a little bit further just to showcase that little section to the far right of this photo. If I were to go back to the original size, that small section to the far right of this particular photo is the NZXT H5 Flow. And I want to say that's a Thermaltake case on top of it that was there when I saw that, but that's a very small section of NZXT. And then you notice here there's a very big batch of Lee, which you also see here. You have a really good amount up at top of this particular photo. You see here, you have a bunch of Lee, a little bit of MSI. That's what I wound up buying. Now, for this photo here, you have a mixture of, as far as I know, mainly the Meshalicious, Modtech, Cooler Masters, that group. And there's actually not that many cases for those. So it sounds like Lee may not be as popular as people think it is. But this is perhaps the biggest surprise for me in February 2023 thus far. So that's that. That was a previous take of this video. But if NZXT is selling better than Lee here in Chicago, that means a few things. It's like NZXT is saying, hey, this is perhaps our best spot to sell, as opposed to Lee. Now, there, like I said, I did mention the H510 Elite. It's actually at the top of here. I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to point in that direction. That's the H510 Elite. That's the H510 Flow. I did say the H5 family, so I'm not misleading here. And a bunch of these are the display cases for some of the other stuff they have. Now that right there is the H9 Elite, and that's where I was taking that photo. You get to see me taking the photo on this particular chassis. And yes, I believe that is sold out on the NZXT website. It's also sold out here, meaning that it is a very popular case, a little bit more so than people think. Now, I haven't seen the boxes for some of these other ones right here. I'm going to zoom in just to be safe. Now, the H7, I think that's the H7. I want to say that's the H7 Flow, and I think that's sold out. You don't really get to see much of the sense of some of the others of the NZXT family, but like I said, NZXT is very, very, very popular here in Chicago. More so than Lee. So, my overall trip to Micro Center today was a resounding success. And I'm going to go over here because regarding the whole peripherals for the female driver's build, I am very, very undecided on what direction to go with, because I do want to go with Corsair for the keyboard, mouse, and mouse pad. But I am more open to Red Dragon at this point. Reason being is that I work with the peripherals I have for my systems. I do have Red Dragon. It's relatively easy for me to say, just hit these two buttons at the same. This button, hold down one button, then press another to get what you want for color or your keys. So I am very torn on that, and that's why I'm a little hesitant to pull the trigger on Corsair. I just go with Red Dragon instead, because it's a lot of things are a lot easier that way. So with that, like I said, I'm going to be resting on my vocals a little bit. I want to check the time one more time. So I will need to get going. I do need to rest on my vocal cords somewhat, so that way I don't get myself, worse in sense of my voice. And that is that on that. But before I sign off, I want you guys to see Sandy's right over there, and he is, I believe, sleeping at this moment. So I'm done with this video. With Wolvie here, signing off. I will catch you all on the flip side.